Coming up, a newborn baby girl has been found abandoned in a park. Police are searching for her mother.
As HS2 gets the official government go-ahead, we hear from homeowners.
And funny man Ross Noble tells us why he's freewheeling his way to a stage near you. Coming up, a newborn baby girl has been found abandoned in a park. Police are trying to trace her mother. We'll have details next. Hello, you're watching ITV News Central. Tonight's top stories. On track, HS2 gets the official government go-ahead.
It's a beautiful little village, totally destroyed for Cameron's vanity project.
The teenager forced to have a hysterectomy after hospital failures.
We look at the scheme to help those on apprenticeships get back into work.
And also me, Ross Noble, I'll be here talking about my new TV show. I'm not in the news, I haven't committed crimes.
Good evening. On one hand, it's promising to deliver faster train travel and economic benefit to the country. On the other, it'll cut through and some say destroy the landscape of communities in the Midlands and beyond.
Today, MPs voted in their hundreds on whether the government should start spending money planning a detailed route for HS2, the controversial £30 billion plus scheme, and those in favour won.
In a moment, we'll have the latest from Westminster and hear from one of the Midlands MPs who voted against. But first, here's the Prime Minister on why HS2 deserves to go ahead.
I don't think HS2 is a difficult sell. Why not? Because everybody knows that the rest of the world is adopting high-speed train technology. We need it here. Everybody knows, I think increasingly, that our train system is at capacity and we need that extra capacity. And I think when you look at these particular calculations of benefit, you need to remember people said there would be a tiny benefit from the Jubilee line. It's been massively successful. People thought there would be a small benefit from the M40. Remember, it was called the Road to Nowhere. It's been a massive success. I believe that transport projects help to bring growth, jobs and investment in your country. And high-speed rail, which will link 8 of the 10 biggest cities in our country, I think will make a real difference.
Well, despite the Prime Minister's views and today's vote, many people along the proposed route of HS2 are hoping the whole thing will end up being scrapped.
At the moment, they say it's blighting their lives and homes, effectively making them prisoners to the project because of the uncertainty. Keith Wilkinson reports.
It's regarded by many as one of the prettiest parts of Staffordshire, full of historic listed buildings. A bit of rural England that draws in thousands of visitors from around the world. And these people who live there want to keep it that way. They oppose HS2. The proposed high-speed line will cut through the golf course at Ingestry and will run close to the adjoining hamlet here. The objectors were watching with some anxiety today's vote in Parliament and hoping to see signs that politicians are losing interest in the multi-billion-pound project.
It's basically going to change the area forever. It's currently a very rural, peaceful place, and it's going to heavily industrialise it during the construction and afterwards, with the numbers of trains and the noise and the general disruption that comes with running a massive railway through what is essentially a peaceful rural community. It could completely change the area.
The sheer cost, I just say, is a complete waste of money. When you've got Stafford Hospital that's lost all its services, you've got education with no money being spent on it, schools that can't be built. I think that money could be put a lot better to other uses.
Well, I think HS2 coming here is just going to destroy the whole village. The way it stands, the way it was, a beautiful little village, totally destroyed for Cameron's vanity project. Our concern at the moment is the way that government is playing political ping pong with people's lives. This is not just about industry. This is not just about Marston. This is not just about Buckinghamshire. This is about the thick end of 500,000 people that are badly affected. And this government can't make up its mind, and these people are sitting in almost prisoner status, prisoners of HS2.
Well, the views of the Midlands residents who, in their words, will lose out from today's HS2 government outline approval.
Our political correspondent Bob Constantine has been following developments at Westminster and joins us now. So Bob, big talk of Tory rebellion today. What was the breakdown?
Well, not all that big as it happened, but we'll hear more about some of the tactical voting that's been going on in a minute. Let me just give you the figures. 350 for, 34 against. We think about 19 Conservative rebels, around about a dozen or so Labour and various others. So after all the talk of a sizable Conservative rebellion, not that much. But let's talk to one of those who did vote against the government today, the Conservative MP for North West Leicestershire, Andrew Bridgen. A bit of a fuss about nothing when it came to a rebellion.
No, it's a bigger rebellion than the original paving bill, and we move on now to the hybrid bill. There are lots of reasons why the rebellion was the size it was. The Whip's office have been working very hard and working their black arts, but most of the speakers today in the debate...
What black arts are they?
Well, there's a lot of colleagues not present. There were 260 colleagues who either abstained or weren't present for a vote on the biggest infrastructure project this country's ever seen.
But it's a big symbolic victory for the government now, and the scheme can at least progress ahead to the next stage.
And some colleagues who are vehemently against HS2 have voted for it today to ensure that the compensation scheme can go ahead, and those blighted by this scheme can get the compensation they need.
Was there any sign, do you think, that Labour were mollifying their position today? Because it seemed to me that they were more supportive than they have been in the last few weeks.
Labour are still talking out of both sides of their mouth on this issue. They're saying now they're supportive. However, they've left themselves plenty of wriggle room to drop out of this project nearer to the general election and shunt the Conservatives into a political siding. There's no point to Labour with that money to spend. There's no money to spend. I think they've got their eye on the 14 billion allocated to HS2 for other spending in the next Parliament.
Well, that's up to them. We'll maybe talk about that a little later in the programme. The really crucial vote, I think it's fair to say, doesn't happen now, but until next spring when the main piece of legislation comes back before the Commons. The Lords obviously will have to have their say as well. Labour, in the meantime, although they're still talking about no blank cheques, are saying they are the true friends of HS2, so I think it looks as though they will support it eventually.
OK, Bob Constantine at Westminster, thank you very much for joining us. Well, we contacted HS2 Limited, the company behind the project, for their reaction today, but have yet to hear back from them.
Yes, if we do hear back from them, of course, we will put it straight on our website. There's more on the vote there. We'll return to HS2 later in the programme. Police have begun an investigation to find the mother of a newborn baby found abandoned in a carrier bag at a park in Birmingham.
Callum Watkinson is at the scene and sent this report a short time ago.
The entrance to the Marlborough House Community Park just off Stewart's Road in Stetchford, where a dog walker found this baby girl just after 2 p.m. today. She's described as white, about a day old and weighing about 6 pounds. She was immediately taken to hospital and is said to be doing well now. The police are obviously very concerned about the welfare of this baby, but they're equally concerned for the welfare of her mother, who they are now very keen to trace.
We're obviously really concerned about the mother. This has been a very recent labour and birth that's taken place, and obviously we're concerned the mother needs to seek medical attention. I'd ask her to make contact with ourselves or go into a hospital or GPs, but we just need to make sure she's safe and well.
Well, as you heard there, the focus of this investigation is very much now on finding the mother of this child. Police are urging anyone who might know anything about her, please get in touch.
Callum Watkinson with that update. A mother from Birmingham says she's been denied the chance to have more children because the hospital where she gave birth to her first child failed to spot an infection, which later led to her having a hysterectomy.
Well, she's just received a 5-figure compensation payout from the hospital trust, but says she's still waiting for an apology. Andy Bevan reports.
When Hayley Sanders had her son Jaden 4 years ago, she thought he would be the start of what she hoped would be a large family. But just days after giving birth, the then 19-year-old developed an infection and was rushed back into hospital. The infection was so severe that surgeons eventually had to perform a hysterectomy, ending her hopes of having any more children.
Because I had a really bad cough, I felt chest infection, I kept being sick, so I thought, oh gosh. But then as it started getting worse, it was like I felt like I was dying, to be honest. I thought, I'm going to die. I ain't going to get out of this hospital, and if I do, I'm going to be in a box.
Hayley took legal action against Heartlands Hospital, who both delivered Jaden and performed the hysterectomy. Her lawyers say they discovered staff had made several internal examinations where they say bacteria could have been passed on, and they claim 4 separate high-temperature readings during and after the birth were ignored. Heart of England NHS Trust challenged the legal action, but days before the case was due in the High Court, they agreed to a 5-figure payout. Hayley, who hasn't been able to work since her operation, says what she really wants is a formal apology.
To be honest, I think it's disgusting because they say they don't miss anything, and it just shows the smallest detail they can miss out on. And I think it's disgusting because it's the smallest things that count.
This afternoon, Heart of England NHS Foundation Trust told ITV News a detailed plan is developed to improve and learn from the findings of investigations, and this is monitored and inspected by senior teams of doctors, nurses and midwives. Unfortunately, Hayley Sanders suffered complications during the course of the delivery of her son. Whilst no admissions of liability were made, a financial settlement was achieved, and we wish Hayley and her family all the best for the future. Hayley says she's happy with the financial settlement, but says no amount of money can make up for the natural brothers or sisters Jaden will never have. Andy Bevan, ITV News.
Police are continuing to search for a convicted child killer who absconded from a prison near Redditch on Monday. 56-year-old Alan Giles was at HMP Hull serving 2 life sentences for the kidnap and murder of 16-year-old student Kevin Ricketts in 1995. Detectives believe he could be sleeping rough, possibly in woodland, and are appealing to dog walkers, farmers and other locals to call the police if they spot him.
Now, a little earlier in the programme, we heard from the Prime Minister talking about HS2. He was speaking at one of the country's largest construction firms here in the Midlands.
He was at Wolverhampton speaking to hundreds of new apprentices who've just been taken on by the company. Our business correspondent, Mark Goff, reports.
It was a relaxed Prime Minister who spoke to the apprentices today, but his message on the economy was serious.
I'm not going to tell you everything in the garden is rosy, but I think things are looking better.
And he believes they'll get even better with apprentices firing our economy. Carillion in Wolverhampton has trained 2,000 apprentices a year, even through the downturn. This year's new intake were told of the part they'll play in rebuilding UK PLC.
This is a really important part of our economic programme, and I want to make sure that the apprenticeships that you do in Britain are as good as the ones anywhere in the world.
The Prime Minister was preaching to the converted, but apprenticeships are still a hard sell.
How can we change the perception of school teachers and pupils that construction is a good career path to take? Because we find that there's a lot of school children aren't interested in construction.
Well, it partly goes to what I said about getting into schools and talking about what a fulfilling career it is and how much satisfaction you get out of it. I think that's part of it. I think part of it is explaining how apprenticeships work.
What's the government doing about sort of making young people in schools aware of the apprenticeships programme?
Absolutely brilliant question. I don't think we've been very good at it up to now. I've lost count of the number of young people I've come across who've been to university or been at university and said to me, actually, I wish I'd known about the potential of apprenticeships. But I think we should also do something else, which is encourage businesses, small and large, to get into schools and talk to young people about what they do. First of all, to tell them about apprenticeships and what is available, but second of all, to inspire them about work and about business and about enterprise, because it is very inspiring. It's very inspiring what you do here. You are going to be building some of the great landmarks of this country.
And in the process, rebuilding the UK economy. Mark Goff, ITV News, Wolverhampton.
The Prime Minister talking to apprentices there. Next, a group of parents have come out in support of a controversial Muslim-free school in Derby. The Al Medina school was labelled dysfunctional by Ofsted. It came after reports that some female staff were being forced to wear Muslim headscarves. The school's been given until tomorrow to improve. If it hasn't met targets, it faces losing its funding.
The school are on target from our conversations with the leadership team. They've said they're on target to meet the deadline tomorrow, and we just want due and proper consideration to be given to the proposals that they set forward. At the end of the day, these are our children's lives, this is their education, and I think the school has been running for a year, and I think it just needs to be given due and proper consideration.
It's thought a fire at the Dormill coal mine in Warwickshire was caused by spontaneous combustion. The site closed in February following an underground fire. Inspectors discovered a rise in carbon monoxide during a recent safety check. Work to stop smoke spreading and air entering the mine is expected to take 2 weeks.
The charity Sense, which supports people with sensory impairments, is to build a new centre in Birmingham, bringing 100 jobs to the city. It'll be in Selly Oak, near to the city's universities and hospitals.
What's great about the new jobs is they will be sustainable because they're based on social enterprise. We need to find different ways of doing things. So these jobs will range from working in the cafe, reception, through to management, HR, finance, and they'll be sustainable.
Well, the time is now just after 6:15. Still to come here on ITV News Central, comedian Ross Noble freewheels his way into the West Midlands and our studio too.
And it's Halloween, so will the weather give us a trick or a treat? I'll tell you later on in the programme.
Next, for some, having a baby is the most natural thing in the world. But for those couples who can't conceive naturally, it can be an emotional journey.
Yes, in the second part of our series on fertility, our health reporter Victoria Davis has been talking to 2 couples who have turned to science in their quest to have a family.
Louise Shaw-Jones has already had 1 baby through IVF, but she's returned to Midland Fertility Services in Aldridge because she wants to complete her family and have another.
I still have a huge urge to give Gethin a little brother or sister and have another child. It's so powerful, that feeling. At every stage of the game it just gets stronger and stronger each time your medication changes or you have an appointment here at the clinic. You know, that feeling and that urge to want to be a mummy just becomes stronger and stronger all the time.
So, got uterus here.
For Louise and her husband, IVF is the only way they can have a baby. Louise has a condition which means she's more likely to miscarry if she conceives naturally, and her husband had a vasectomy which can't be reversed. When they went through IVF the first time, they kept some embryos stored in the deep freeze, so it's hoped one of these will produce another child.
It's important to me, but you know, if it doesn't work, we've already discussed that there's only so many times we're going to try. It is a very stressful and emotional journey, and so I'd be happy to settle and say I've been blessed with Gethin, and yeah, we'll just stick with him.
The amount of people looking to science to help them conceive is on the rise. All these children at this family fun day, Melton Mowbray in Leicestershire, have been created by scientists in a clinic in Nottingham, something they believe should be celebrated.
We've now reached a stage, I would say, where we probably could have only dreamed of the technology that we have today to help couples. We can probably help more than 95% of families who can't have children, by one means or another, have a child of their own.
Seeing all these little miracles sort of running around, that, I mean, they truly are our sort of like, you know, miracles.
Yeah.
It's just meant everything to us. We have Grace and we are a unit, we are a solid unit. And it's brought us a tremendous joy.
More than 60,000 cycles of IVF are performed in the UK each year. But the reality is that fewer than 25% of these are successful. And for those couples who are struggling to get pregnant, it can be financially, emotionally and physically draining.
We met when I was 38 and you were 39. And we knew by that stage in our lives that we both wanted to have kids. So we got married and then we tried to have kids and nothing happened.
We went into IVF very much thinking, this is it. Okay, this will provide the solution, it's going to be a success. And I think we were a bit taken aback when it didn't work. But after the second attempt at IVF, I think we just sort of felt that we had to change direction.
And that change of direction gave them their 3-month-old daughter, Ida. Struggling financially, Ben and Becky travelled to the Czech Republic, where the cost of treatment was cheaper. And realising IVF was unlikely to work, they decided to use an egg donated by a woman in her 20s.
It feels very alien, to think of another woman giving you her egg and it being inside you. It's a very sort of strange idea, really. But I think I came around to the idea that it's actually a lovely thing to do for a person to donate their egg for you. And I knew that the chance of success with donor egg was so high, and I just wanted a baby. At least I knew that Ben would be in Ida. And, I look at Ida and I just love her so much, and I just feel like she's mine. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me, I think.
The couple have now set up a business in Nottingham to help support other people who want to receive fertility treatment in the Czech Republic. But back in Aldridge, Louise and her husband are about to find out whether IVF has been successful for them a second time round.
Twins, and they're both absolutely fine today. Okay, I'm just going to turn the screen around and show you, alright? You look fab. Really excited. Yeah, really excited. Heartbeat there, look, can you see that? Oh yeah. Down, yeah. We kind of were expecting the worst. So from going from that, thinking there was nothing, to twins is amazing.
This family are now celebrating as they prepare for their new arrivals, something which would never have been possible if it wasn't for modern medicine. Victoria Davis, ITV News.
Such an emotional journey,
Yes.
isn't it? You invest so much into something like that. And I'm glad I put my waterproof mascara on.
Yes. So I'll do the next bit then, just in case.
Yeah, you do the next.
The national and international news is a few moments away. Alistair Stewart has the headlines.
Prosecutors tell how they believe the News of the World hacked murdered schoolgirl Millie Dowler's phone messages, and why a 6-year affair between Rebecca Brooks and Andy Coulson, both former editors, proved they knew exactly what was going on. The communities where the government has little to offer on power prices to protect these people from a winter they can't afford. And for many, a deeply sad pre-Christmas message. The world is facing a wine shortage. Join Natasha Kaplinsky and me at 6:30.
So what? Did I hear that right?
I was about to say, did I hear that right?
Mass
Blimey.
panic everywhere across ITV News Central.
We can only hope it's all fine.
Yes.
Alistair will tell us a little bit later on. Now, if you've spotted a leather-clad biker with long, flowing brunette locks, followed by a TV crew riding around the Midlands recently, don't worry, it's not Lucy on a day off.
No,
or is it?
No, it's definitely not. You wouldn't get me on one of those bikes. It was more than likely, though. Comedian Ross Noble, who's been filming some of his new TV show called Freewheeling in Birmingham. He came in earlier to make us laugh and to tell us all about it.
Well, Ross, thank you very much for coming in to chat to us. Let's start off by talking about the new series.
Yes.
Slightly unusual premise. Tell us about it.
Yeah, basically it's called Freewheeling, and what I do is most TV shows are planned, you work out what you're going to do in advance. This is completely unplanned. I just get on Twitter and then I say, what are you doing, what are you up to, and then people tweet me, and then whatever tweets come in, I then get on my motorbike and I travel there, and then that becomes the show. So,
and you've met some interesting people, some
yeah,
interesting characters,
that's a very
haven't you?
tactful way of saying it.
Yeah,
some interesting.
Yeah,
characters.
some interesting people.
Yeah, what's fun about the show is that in my show you get people on television that aren't normally allowed on television. You know when
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what it's like. You know when when your reporters are out and about and the people that sort of slide in the background like that, or the new one they do now. Have you seen this with the phone?
Yeah.
Where they sort of somebody's on, it's a live link and somebody slides in and their mate's going left a bit, left a bit. If you imagine those people, well, I've put them on telly.
Actually, one of my favourite clips is when you go to someone's wedding. Shall we just take a quick look at that?
Well, yeah. You would make my fiance's day if you popped into our wedding. This is a beautiful sight, isn't it? The bride has an inhaler. I don't know what he's got planned later, but...
I guess something like that is dream material, isn't it? Somebody invites you to their wedding.
I couldn't believe that. It was the bride as well. It wasn't the groom. It was the bride said, could you, well, exactly that, you'd make my boyfriend, fiance's day if you come to our wedding. So I turn up to the wedding. He's got no idea I was coming. And that's the thing as well. When I turn up, I've got such a big film crew. They all think I'm from like Surprise, Surprise or something. So everyone thinks they've won like a bravery award. And then they find out it's just me mucking around. So I turn up to the wedding. And then the next thing you know, he's going, oh, okay, you can film at our wedding. And I said, well, can I do the speeches? So the next thing you know, I'm literally stood there with a mic in front, doing a speech about people I've never met before in front of a load of relatives who are going, why is there a full film crew and stuff? And then I offered to oil the head of a bald man who turned out to be the bride's granddad.
Oh my goodness.
So
it's all very impromptu, very unplanned, bit like your live shows, I suppose, in many ways. So you're bringing that live element to a pre-recorded TV show.
To a TV show, which is both exciting and at the same time terrifying that I've been allowed to, that they've gone, go on, do that. But nobody gets hurt, so that's all that counts.
So it's fine.
Yes, everyone has a laugh and we all go home.
Talk about those live shows. You're back in the Midlands this time next year, is that right?
Exactly, this time next year.
Derby, Nottingham and Birmingham.
Yes,
dates to look forward
that's
to.
right. Tangentleman is the name of the...
you've got some interesting titles for your tours over recent years. Chicken Master, Noodle Meister, Physiologic and Tangentleman. Where do you
Tangentleman. The thing is, I called it Tangent because I wanted to, because it shows there's a lot of tangents, but I realised that it now sounds like, if you emphasise it wrong, it's like Tangentleman. Like people might think that it's the David Dickinson story, and that I'm going to come out dressed as Dale Winton and go, oh, he's been in the solarium.
I think that idea's got merit, to be honest.
Yeah, I might do that. Give it a year.
Right,
I'll tan myself up. I'll look like a conker.
Ross, thank you very much for coming in and telling us about the new series.
Thanks for having me.
See you next year.
Thank you. Very funny man, and I think tickets go on sale next week for his tour. He's coming to Birmingham next October.
Yes, now some news just in, actually, along the same entertainment theme, really. The Arctic Monkeys have cancelled their gig at the LG Arena in Birmingham tonight. The Arena say it's because a band member is ill. Fans are being asked to keep their tickets and wait for more information from the venue.
Now then, it's the scariest day of the year, Halloween, and Derby has been voted the 4th spookiest city in the UK.
Yes, the witness report says the best place to find ghosts is in the bedroom, with one in three sightings taking place there. Make of that what you will. So if you're hoping for a ghoulish surprise tonight, the advice is stay at home.
And there are plenty of Halloween pictures on our website, itv.com/central. You've certainly been going to lots of effort. Very impressive.
Yes, indeed. Let's have a look at the forecast now. Here's James Wright.
Hello there, good evening. If you're off out and about for Halloween, it might be more of a trick than a treat because it's going to feel quite cool and there's a chance of seeing some rain around. It's going to be a case of definitely rain tomorrow. Low pressure systems coming up across us over the next few days, bringing plenty of rain, and even once one passes through, another one line up for the weekend. As far as tonight goes, then lots of cloud around, particularly across the southern side of the region, some rain around here, particularly during the latter part of the night. Elsewhere, clear spells, and these temperatures will take a tumble quite quickly and they may well fall a little bit lower than this, particularly out in the countryside. There is a chance of seeing some mist and fog patches forming by the early hours. So a bit of a dreary start to end the week. It is going to be a damp one, particularly across the south, and then that rain is really going to turn heavy and become more widespread as we get into the afternoon. Bear in mind that the ground is quite saturated. There could be an issue with localised flooding. Temperature-wise, on the cool side, 11 to 13 degrees Celsius, kind of about right, but adding that rain, it's certainly going to feel chilly. And then looking ahead to the weekend, a bright start on Saturday before more rain starts to push in later on in the day. That'll clear overnight to leave us with sunny spells and showers, some of those quite heavy and blustery in nature. Quite a gusty old day on Sunday. And then Monday and Tuesday, I'm afraid to say more rain on the cards. Again, rather breezy, and the next few days not feeling particularly mild. Bye-bye.
Well, time to return to our coverage of the crucial HS2 government vote today. Our political correspondent Bob Constantine is at Westminster for us. Bob, we've had the vote result. What happens now?
Well, this is really, sorry to tell you this is really only the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end, because we now move to the really nitty-gritty stage of the legislation, but that won't come back to the House until next spring, and then it could drag on really for at least the best part of that year. It was a significant vote nonetheless today, a big government majority of over 300, deceptively large perhaps when you think that a lot of MPs weren't here. It struck me that Labour were now much more supportive than they have been up to now. They look as though they've got a policy to support HS2 after all. This was the day that Patrick McLaughlin, the Transport Secretary, was able to say HS2 is no longer an if, but a when.
OK, Bob, thank you very much indeed for us this evening.
Well, that's the latest news for you across the region tonight. If you are heading out trick-or-treating, have a good one. Be careful. Look out for all those witches and ghosts in the bedroom.
OK. We're back here tomorrow. I'm back with a late bulletin as well. The ITV News continues. Goodbye for now.
It's true. It says it here.
Well, yeah.